Hi, today we're preparing Aragon to get mounted for the first time. Yesterday afternoon we introduced the saddle and the bridle to him and he did really well. He accepted the saddle and there was no bucking, there was no running around, slight amount of stress like it is for any horse being saddled for the first time, but yeah, he did pretty well. So in today's video we're just going to be continuing on that process, and it's a really important step and we're going to try and make it stress-free. Well, not stress-free, but as little as possible stress when we do mount. So this is a preparation phase. My name is Ray, founder of Horseflow Academy and author of the book Communicate with Your Horse. We've done a couple of episodes on Aragon in regards to how to start your horse, and this is the series that we're shooting with them, and this is going to be episode 5. So yeah, let's jump straight in and start preparing Aragon for being mounted for the first time. Come boy. So I've not done any preparation work this morning. It's just greeted him and brought him into the picadero and brushed his hair, and now we're just going to go straight onto the saddle. Let's see how he consolidated yesterday's information. Like absolutely no preparation. Dumbfounded. Good boy. Even taking it a real step up from yesterday by leaving the girth on. What do you guys say about that? That's not too bad, my boy. Second time in his life he gets a saddle on his back. Well, I'm lying. Yesterday I put the saddle on probably a couple of times. But yeah, day 2, my boy. You clever. I bet you people think we're lying to them. Cool, so he's trying to walk it off, but it's also nearly breakfast time, so I think he's more just concerned about having breakfast. And I'm not punishing him. You see he's licking his lips, he's not stressed. I'm just redirecting his feet, redirecting that energy, asking him, please stay here with me. I'm going to do your girth up. Ooh, what funny sensation is that? I'm doing it straight up like I would with a regular horse which is quite used to being saddled, and the girth is at a first phase where you can move around without the saddle moving or falling off the horse or whatever, or underneath his belly. And then once you get ready to mount, make sure the saddle's tight enough so that you don't move the saddle, and then once you're on top of the saddle, make sure the girth is not too tight but tight enough so that the saddle again doesn't move or fall off. Right, so right away Aragon is walking in quite a relaxed manner for having his saddle on only for the second time. He's leaving me with minimal preparation for the mounting part. Alright, so what we're going to do this morning to just make the saddle a better experience for Aragon once we do mount, so that we don't over pressurize him, is just purely by teaching him the cues and the aids of what our legs will mean when we're on top of him, and then also just slightly get him used to, you see right there I'm busy reaching his threshold. He's like, oh, this is uncomfortable, man. So just getting him used to the weight and the sounds of the saddle on top of his back, and then by also establishing the cues and aids with the head and the bridle, we'll also continue on that journey today. We're going to start right off with the new sensations, and we've already recapped on directional and energy influence, which I covered completely in episode 2, and yesterday we recapped with Aragon with my body language and then some physical touch before we put the saddle on him on episode 4. So right now I'm just rewarding him after he responded correctly. I'm applying pressure with a stirrup and he healed his hindquarters, which is exactly what I'm asking. and it gives me a lovely step from a real soft pressure. And I want to differentiate between the weight of the leg. Oh, I'm just going to leave it there for a moment. You want to differentiate between the pressure of your leg hanging there, the weight of your leg, and also then differentiating between what you mean when you apply the pressure. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling down on the stirrup so that the stirrup leather makes contact with the side of his body, and then if needed I drive the stirrup itself into the side of his body in a light manner, and then also in a rhythmic manner, so that he can feel the differentiation and see like, oh, okay, you're asking me to move away from this driving pressure. Good boy. All right, I'm jumping straight back in. I want the hindquarters to move. Good boy. So you'll see I'm supporting him with a head collar. You've got an itch. I'm supporting him with a head collar just so that he doesn't walk off, as he has already indicated this morning that he probably will walk off if I just apply pressure to the side or behind him. So you see there's a light pressure on the stirrup on the side of his body, and there we go. So pulling down on the saddle, you can see the saddle moving, and then pushing the stirrup leather, only the stirrup leather, into the side of his body, so where the calf pressure would be, and I get a response without the stirrup hitting the side of his body. So I'm rewarding him for refining that aid already from day 2. Good boy. Alright, we've got some directional influence on the hindquarters from the right hand side. We do the exact same on the left hand side. Again, start where you want to end. So I'm applying pressure with the stirrup leather. He's not responding. I'm going to start driving the stirrup itself into the side of his body in a rhythmic manner. He's considering, he's not sure, so I'm going to use my body language to just help him. Like, that's what I was asking. Good boy. That loud bird is called a fork-tailed drongo. Alright, let's continue. Aragon stirrup leather, please yield your hindquarters for me. Good boy, thank you. That was only with the stirrup leather, so. And he's resting his hind leg, and I'm going to give him a big reward. Now he can digest and consolidate that information, and now we're going to have a soft horse when we start riding. Is that not lovely? Good boy. The most important part of every training session is these moments of repose where you just give your horse a chance to digest that information, and for the brain to just refire those same neural networks that were active when you applied or asked those cues and aids and the new skill that he's just learned. It's sort of just a neurobiological beneficial way of training, just purely giving these breaks. What is it? Loose lips resting, and that was quite a bit of time. So now we're just going to progress and move that on to healing his shoulders. Again, taking my leg a little bit forward. Now, I'm over exaggerating a tiny bit, so that he can differentiate between the levels of pressure and where I'm applying the pressure for these cues. And then once we've established consistency, then we can start refining those cues to minute movements, and then later on with the saddle pressure, just with our seat. So right now we've got hind quarter control, or influence rather. Good boy. See, there's no force, it's just a suggestion. Like, I'm applying stirrup leather pressure only. I'm gonna go a bit more rhythmic. 1, 2. And he responds, and I reward him. It's not perfect, and I go straight back. Good boy, he picked up the right leg. Alright, now we're gonna move straight to the shoulder. So I'm applying stirrup leather. Oh wow, good boy. Give him a nice release with that. You see, with proper preparation, you are setting yourself and your horse up for real success. This is the second time Aragon has got a saddle on, and already we can heel his shoulders and his hindquarters. I'm not so sure. There we go. Literally just with a stirrup leather, and that will make much easier for being mounted for the first time, so he doesn't get utterly confused when you apply leg pressure to ask him to go forward. So right now we're just establishing directional influence. I did the concept one time in already 2 steps, so really advancing things quite rapidly. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Yo, good boy. There's a lot of good boys. Oh, that's some real lovely progress. Whatever you do on the one side, you need to do on the other side, so I'm just giving him a moment again to digest that information and to explain to him that that was really, really good. Right, let's move on to the other side. Just moving his feet more than what I move my feet, just to remain in a position where I've got more influence. Good boy. Right away he understands the concept. Stirrup leather pressure only. Like there's no direct stirrup driving, just using the stirrup leather, and he gets the difference between shoulders and hindquarters. And shoulders. Boy. Love it how he's chewing and resting his hind leg every time we stop. Good boy. Back to stirrup. Kim. Going into rhythmic pressure. Good boy. He's considering it. Micro release and back into action. Good boy. He's almost a bit on the too lazy side. Good boy. We'll get his energy up now. We're going to ask him to start giving us a bit more energy. So we're going to develop some energy influence with the saddle on, and then we'll move on to the bridle again. If you have watched episode 4 before this, then you'll see that the bridle that we had on yesterday was not the best suited for him. The first bridle was a bit too small. I misinterpreted the size of his head, and then I ended up using my Warm Bloods dressage bridle. Good boy, come here. Alright, just going to tighten the girth one up so that we can start asking him a bit more energy control. Alright, so now the next thing that I'm going to do with Aragon is just a little bit more stirrup work, and I'm just going to get him a bit more used to the sensation of purely putting weight to the side, and I'm going to slightly send him forward. By meaning, like, when I put my leg on, that means driving forward. And when he goes, release, just like you would when you were on the saddle. And if he slows down too much, I just increase a bit of pressure. Good boy. Whoa. Fine. Just give him a moment for that, and then we're going to do the other side, and then we'll send him and let him trot with the stirrups flapping around. Good boy. Just back up for me. you. So I'm able to send Aragon with my body language, but I want him to drive, and from there we go. He gave me a step forward now because he's confused about what I'm trying to ask. It's not a problem. I'm assisting him with a head collar, but I'm indicating with a stirrup, and then I'm pulling with the head collar forward behind the pole, and he moves, and I reward him. Good boy. So that when you ask him under saddle with leg pressure, that he's not too unfamiliar with the sensation and doesn't overreact. Good boy. A little bit further away from me. I'm using a vocal cue as well so that I can assist him. Good boy. Oh. Good boy. Proud of you, man. Well, he's quite happy with all of that. It's going to be quite easy to mount him. It's just a matter of getting him used to the body weight and the shift of body weight when he moves and changing his balance, which is a big part for a horse. When you sit on top of the saddle and they're busy moving, then as they lift their legs up, all of their balance is just out of whack. As of all of a sudden now they have to carry a lot more weight when they lift that leg, so their muscles need to adapt and all the other nerves. So there's a lot of things that needs to be adjusted when a horse starts carrying full body weight. So whatever I do, I'm constantly preparing him for the next step, always building on what we've done to this point, making sure he's quite relaxed. I can move the saddle around. I've not desensitized Aragon really almost at all with anything that I've done. Yesterday was a light amount of flooding, introducing the saddle for the first time by taking it off and putting it back on, and taking it off and putting it back on. But that was only after we introduced the concept lesson. So now it's just going to be energy up, back. I'm going to make physical contact with the chest. Yes, back please. Thank you. He's a bit sleepy. So I'm just going to send Aragon around me, and then we're going to just warm him up by walking him for a slight bit, and then we're going to just ask him to give us a very light trot. Back. Choosing his own way. He's anticipating. Good boy. Resting his hind leg. But you go the other way now. Doing the opposite way to what he was intending to. Good boy. We'll be doing relatively tight circles so I can communicate more effectively with the head collar, so that he is able to receive my cues a bit quicker when I do ask him things. Okay. Lazy man. Alright, that was good enough. Hindquarters, shoulders. Give him the benefit of the doubt when he is veering off course, and then I just apply pressure as soon as he veers off too much. Good boy. Hindquarters. Thank you. Shoulders. Thank you. Alright, we're introducing Aragon to a different bit and bridle today. Good boy. So yesterday was the first introduction to a bridle and a bit, and he did not find that too comfortable at all. I was using my warm blood dressage bridle mentioned earlier during this video, and also a good boy. What do you want to say? Alright. Just adjusting the bridle to the hopefully appropriate length, and then, ooh, what's that loud metal noise? So I'm giving him a bit of a larger surface area on this bit today. You can see I still have the same kind of influence, or even better than yesterday, with bringing his head down. Good boy, really soft, that's really good. So first we make contact, and if he opens his mouth, instead of forcing it in, release and say thank you. That's what I looked for. He already anticipated, just from yesterday's experience, it was not a perfect experience, and it wasn't the best preparation from my side, and therefore he doesn't have the best association with the bit at the moment. So we just have to have a lot more patience to just improve on his acceptance of the bit. Make sure I can do it with my fingers on the corners of his mouth, and already you can see he's like, oh, get it out, get it out. And it's not in your mouth, my boy. Good boy. See? He just anticipated and expected the thing in his mouth that he can't get out. Good boy. Preparation is the key. Good boy. So I'm just constantly putting my fingers into both corners of his mouth, moving it around, and then when he's not responding, or when he's relaxed and his lips tension release, then I release pressure as well by just removing my fingertips. Now this is really challenging, like doing that with a bit, and yesterday's session it was very clear that he didn't enjoy the bit, but I couldn't just take it out because it would probably knock his front teeth, and also it's a big process of taking it in and out, and if every time he has a fuss about it and you take it out, he's going to learn to never accept the bit. So trying to prepare him to say, like, you feel the pressure on your cheeks, cool, your lip tension is quite relaxed, so I can move his lips around, and I'm asking him with my left finger to come towards me with his corner of his mouth, so that, and I'm pushing slightly with the right side just to get him used to moving off the pressure of the mouth. It's not the same sensation as what it would be on the inside of the mouth, as I can't mimic the break of the bit. Cool, very responsive, very nice. Alright, let's go back to good boy. I also don't want to take away my influence over his head by just forcing the bridle on every time I ask him to drop his head. Otherwise I'm going to teach him that it's not a nice experience after I ask him to drop your head, and then he's going to end up starting to fight me and saying like, nope, I don't want to do that. He really doesn't want to do that. Back. Just using the aids that I have, which is just the reins at this moment. I immediately use it like a neck rein, and I apply slight pressure on his nose as the noseband of the head collar would, to back him up when he starts walking over me. Good boy. Alright, head down. Nicely down. Thank you. I'm keeping my arm at the top so I can apply pressure and ask him to move down quite easily. He's trying to escape the bit, so it's not a problem. I'm just keeping it steady. And asking, will you open your mouth? He still hasn't opened his mouth, so I'm still not releasing pressure. There we go. I'm keeping my hand steady before I put the bridle over the ears, so that when he relaxes I can remove it, just to prove to him like, okay, it's gonna be fine. He really doesn't like a bit. Very good boy. That's better. Good boy. Yeah. See? You can come out as well. Good boy. Look back. So I waited for that first moment where he stopped playing around with the tongue and stopped forcing the bit up into deeper into his mouth, and then I took it out. Good boy. And you just continue on that process and keep exposing them to more and more and more longer periods of time where the bit is in their mouth and them being relaxed until it's a point where they've just accepted the bit, and then it's quite easy from there. And then we're going to just carefully explain to him what the sensation of the reins mean and what we want him to do. His friends has left him down to bigger part of the grazing, and he's not too happy by being all by himself now. Good boy. Hey, they're not too far. But they are out of sight. Okay. Good boy. Head down. Thank you. Head down. Good boy. Super soft. So before I ask with my thumb, I'm just holding the bit against his lips, and then I'm going to put my thumb into his mouth, and that was really soft. This bridle is a touch too small as well. He definitely has the head of a Percheron more than what he does of a Boerperd. Aragon being a Percheron cross with a Boerperd, South African Boerperd. So I'm just improvising now, as the bridle is too small to drag it over his ears. I'm just waiting for him to relax with a bit by keeping my head constant. It's almost there. The bit is quite a nice size for him. It's got enough room around his face. Good boy. I'm about to take it out. Just wait for him to relax his body. Good boy. There, he just accepted the bit for the first time really properly. And I'm going to reward him properly for that. That's going to be the end of that lesson today. I'm using my thumb into his shoulders when he does start walking over me. He wants to get to his friends. They're completely out of sight, so he's a horse by himself right now. So for a youngster, he's being quite independent by maintaining presence with me and not neighing and reacting worse than what he is right now. Good boy. Yes, fine. Alright, I just gave him a moment there to sort of walk it off by himself if he wanted to. Flexing quite nicely. Good. Alright, so that was a brief, a fairly brief session with Aragon, having a saddle on for the second time. Just getting him ready to be mounted, and also just doing some bridle work again, getting him used to just accept the bit so it's not a big fuss when you put the bit in his mouth. Then we can start explaining to him better what it means to communicate with the corners of his mouth. As you can see, he's not too comfortable yet with something that's pulling around in the inside of his mouth. Perfect. Thank you, my boy. preparing your horse for success, or setting them up for success, is the key to enjoying your training sessions and reducing the risk of injury both for yourself and your horse, and making the future training episodes much easier. It's going to be much easier to advance Aragon's education from here on forward, just by purely preparing him for the beginning phases of introducing the saddle, being able to influence his entire body with the saddle. So even without a head collar or a bridle on, here's a 3.5-year-old horse that's got a saddle on for the second time only, and I'm able to manipulate or influence his entire body by literally just applying pressure with the stirrups and just keeping him in frame with my hand. So it's really not too bad. Good boy. Thank you very much for making the time to watch this video, if you have watched to this point, and I hope there's been some value for you and you can gain some knowledge or ideas or get some inspiration so that you can help your horse develop a better foundation when you do start your horse. Whether it's a green, young, wild horse, doesn't matter, just about preparing them and following the concepts and principles for effective communication. If you feel like you've found value out of this and you are eager to see the next episode where we're going to be mounting Aragon, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button so that you can get notified when we release the next episode. And also, if you have any related questions, please leave it down in the comment section so that we can engage and help your horse. We'll go to your friends now. Good boy.